Alright, hello everyone, my name is Disc, and in this video we have a level 9 City of Threads, and this is a video that I have with my semi-group. It was not a timed key, but I think it was still a very good attempt and a lot of really good examples we can talk about, and I think a really good video to mark the start of the expansion. But before we get going here, I do want to plug my Medify. If you've not heard of it, medify.gg is a website for coaching gamers, and I am one of their sponsored discipline teachers over there, so if you're interested in learning, please go check it out. Additionally, I have turned on the subscriptions for my YouTube here. So it's an idea I've had for a while, but I'm no longer going to be giving away my UI elements for free. That's just a decision that I've made. So if you join my channel, it's a monthly subscription. My offer to the channel is I will keep my codes and my imports and exports updated monthly. So feel free to join for 1 month, take it and leave, or you can stick around and get fresh code every month. But the videos are going to remain free, and I think a lot of the meat of my channel and what I'm trying to do in teaching and inspiring discipline players is still going to be accessible through my videos. And feel free to copy my ideas, copy my UI, but if you want my actual import codes, that is now something that's going to be walled behind a subscription, so please check that out too, and we will learn it together. But here are our talents for this run. I'm not going to dwell too long because I did a dedicated video to talents, but I wanted to talk about some notable points that I have in here. If you have any questions about others, please ask. But Words of the Pious, Rhapsody, and Holy Nova. I do prefer Vampiric Embrace, that's just me. Bulwark and Life. I think Life is invaluable in Mythic Plus. I'm not sure about Raid, that might be Benevolence. Then on Discipline, I'm taking 2 points in Rapture. It is just such a good spell these days. Obviously, we're going Mindbender, and then Wheel and Woe, always a favorite of mine. I think it pairs great with Tier Set. It's pretty easy to use. I think you can kind of like set it and forget it, and it will still do good for you. But with my UI, there's a lot of really good opportunities to get these really nice, powerful shields. A big complaint people have often is Discipline doesn't have good spot healing, but what I think is happening is you're just simply not getting ahead of damage with your big shields, and when you're found having to flash heal people, you're complaining about it. But the correct stance for Discipline and most healers is you want to get ahead of damage. Wheel and Woe is our spot healing, you just can't react with it, you have to be ahead of damage. So really good point here. And then Long Schism, always a favorite of mine, we've just not been able to take it until now. But Long Schism is amazing with my point over here in our hero talents, Darkening Horizon. So I am voting into the Rift extension over the Atonement extension, and I think this is the clear standout choice. It's basically going to double the power of your Rift. Your Rift is empowered by your penance, and with an extended Rift you can get 2 penance instead of 1. And the Atonement thing I just think is almost irrelevant, because all you really need to do to cover your party with your Rift is cast a Radiance after the Rift. It's just really not that hard, and then all the way to the Collapse gets all the healing. The Collapse is going to be buffed by 2 penance. The Collapse is also going to be buffed by our Long Schism. So I think it's just the standout way to go. Then also I'm going Depth of Shadow. I just think there's more juice to squeeze here, mainly because of our death resets. I know Void Wraith is recommended, but I just think the other one is going to be better. So now let's take a look at our healing really quickly. So I don't want to get in a habit of focusing too much on this in the start of my videos like I used to, but being that it's the first video of the expansion, I wanted to kind of flash it to give people an idea of what they should be aiming for in their own runs. So not too much to talk about here with Atonement and healing, but the main point that I'm trying to drive home with a healing meter is that the far majority of our healing comes from attacking enemies. So we really have to get comfortable with attacking, we really have to get comfortable with atoning, and we really have to kind of, merge that gap and understand that attacking enemies is healing, because Atonement comes from attacking. So we really have to be comfortable with attacking enemies. We can't approach Discipline as if we are a holy priest. And that's just all I have to say for that. And then this is a little bit more interesting. This is a display of our damage output. This is very important to focus on as a Disc Priest. because our damage output is essentially our healing. And a couple things, let's just go down the list here. So our Entropic Rift is on top by a long shot, Mindbender, and then Dark Reprimand, and then you can kind of look where the other ones fall. But this just goes to show how powerful the Entropic Rift is, our hero talent. And being that it's totally passive, it's just like Hello Pro. And then the Mindbender, I have a whole dedicated video to that if you're interested. But this is an area where you're going to have a lot of loss if you're not min-maxing this talent. So it's really all about getting your torments, aiming for 5 torments at least. And with my build and Depth of Shadow, we're aiming for as many as possible. You know, we can get 8 per Mindbender. We can pick up all these additional torments outside of our Mindbender. So there's a lot of loss here if you're not good at min-maxing that. And then the rest of those, I'm not going to talk about them, but ask questions if you are interested. But I think I've put enough time into the spec where I'm able to talk about it in this video. The first video of an expansion is always a little bit weird because I don't really have my speak down yet, but I wanted to give it a go, wanted to see if I can do this kind of just in one shot here. We did just finish this, so I think I can do it. But again, this was not a timed video, but I still think it was a really, really good key, and it's with our main tank. It's our Demon Hunter is in Discord, and then our Paladin is in Discord. Our Mage was the oddball out, and on last boss, he was a contributor to the loss of the key. But we still had a clean kill eventually, but the Mage did kind of throw us off a little bit. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and clip over to the key. Alright, first key of the season. Let's see how it goes.
5, 4.
Always a good idea to predetermine whom you're going to PI. I am PIing our Demon Hunter, Theorize. Also noticing on the left side of my unit frames that it's Omni CD, tracking only 1 spell per class. That is to help maximize PI, that's it. A couple other things to note if you're new to my channel, all of my nameplates are color-coded on a scale of dark red to light red. This is helping me guide my attacks into the best focused target. We really want to put heat on the healthiest mob in a group. They're usually the most threatening as well, and in this pull, it's this big beetle. So notice how I get into my Mindbender. Atonements first, dots first, Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death Penance. And at this point, all I have to do is work in a Radiance anywhere, and the whole group will be covered for the collapse. And that was a really thick pull. And something I've been noticing is after my cooldowns, after Mindbender, I pretty much just spend the remainder of the pull trying to set my Mindbender ready for the next pull. So notice he's at 12 seconds now, not too bad. Quick little buff. Also note above my player frame, those are my personal resources for Wheel and Woe and Tier. Putting my focus on the big beetle, Mindbender, Mind Blast. This time I Penance first, then Death. All of these little guys were going to die prematurely, and I wanted to empower my Rift. It was more important than the Torment of Death. So I do think those are kind of interchangeable. I am favoring Death before Penance, but it's very situational. Sometimes I'm using Penance first. And always keeping an eye out for executes. Catching those executes there got me a free Mindbender and a couple free Torments. Another thing to play with, and I think we'll see it in this key, is I'm using a Cancel Aura Entropic Rift macro to make sure my Rift collapse doesn't happen after a pull dies. So only a couple things to think about here. Notice I'm only tracking 1 spell timer, the Vociferous Indoctrination. That is group damage where we must place our heals. Until then, I open with Mindbender because we are also trying to get a damage grab. I have to be really careful with these dispels. I'm trying to call it in Discord. So my Rift is out. I work in a Radiance after the Rift. And everyone is totally covered through to the collapse. And also noticing on tank, whenever the subjugate goes out, the tank is highlighting with a white dotted line that is indicating he's being cast on. That is a really good opportunity on Tyrannical to paint up him, to shield him, etc. I think I get one of those. Mindbender and Rift are out, working a Radiance midway. And everyone is covered through the collapse. Yep, on that one I precast a Paints Up on the Subjugate. And a lot of times I don't have Mindbender, but I do have Rift. It's a pretty good spell to keep rolling. Ideally, you want them played together. But Rift on its own does pretty much all you need as well. So Mindbender and Rift are up. We're almost at sub 20 where we get a really fun rotation, so watch this. Mindbender, Death, Death, then Rift, then Penance. And that was about 10 Torments, all in my opener. You might have to replay that if you want to see how I did that rotation. Falling apart here at the end. Yeah, so Mindbender, Death, Death. I have 3 Torments. I'm sorry, I have 3 Mindbenders out. Then a Mind Blast Penance. It triggers a Torment on 3 of them twice. So that's like 8 Torments, all in my opener. Pretty good. And that's something I'm trying to aim for on all bosses, because they hold in that execute range for quite a while. So typically it's just a 5 Torment window, but when you have executes like that, you can get a lot more. And this guy, I don't really know what he does, so if anyone knows, please let me know. But I've also started a new system. It's not fully maximized yet, but all enemy cast bars on nameplates are gray, except for ones we need to fear are aqua. Yeah, notice on this mob, I'm tracking 1 spell timer on his nameplate. That is the group AoE. Rapture round. And the idea with Rapture, that wasn't the best example, but you want to bounce back and forth between Rapture, Shields, and Penance. That will double dip on your Wheel and Woe. So Wheel and Woe and a buffed Shield from Rapture. You can kind of go back and forth at least twice, getting these really nice buff Raptures. I tend to give a huge buffed Rapture to a tank, otherwise it will go to waste. Something I also like to do out of combat is Radiance. So I should have Radiance a little bit sooner. But the last thing I do before my window is shield the tank. That way he has a long atonement. And it procs my Words of the Pious. And that was a really good example of Rift. All I did is after the Rift was active, I cast a Radiance and everyone was covered. So most pulls, only 1 Mindbender, but you can get 2 Rifts. This is an example of a second Rift. Yeah, and out of combat, I'm trying to get in good habit of it, but I'm spending a Radiance to go ahead and let the cooldown start resetting, because the Harsh Discipline proc will hold for 30 seconds, and it's pretty easy to kind of 2-stack that in between combat. Let's see, I'm probably Radiance immediately. Yep. Radiance, shield the tank, select the darkest red enemy, Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. Working a mid Radiance, and the Rift covered everybody. It feels quite reminiscent of Boon of the Ascendant, if anyone played that in Shadowlands. That was my favorite expansion so far with Discipline, so having something that feels like it, I'm loving it. Yeah, it feels similar because you can cancel the Rift. Anyone who's been playing Discipline, you notice a lot of times the Rift will collapse after a pull has died. When it comes to min-maxing, if your Rift is missing... Oh shit. If your Rift is missing, that's not good. Radiance for the proc, shield the tank for Words of the Pious and the Long Atonement. 2 dots. And let my rotation spread the final 2 dots. Working the mid Radiance for the coverage. Mindbender and the Rift covered everybody through that attack. Now, also noticing on the nameplate here, we have the AoE group attack on his nameplate. That is a great feature to use sparingly. Yeah. Let's see, I think I get a cancel Rift here. So the Rift isn't going to make it all the way. I get as much as I can. Cancel it, just to get the hit. Okay, and on this boss, I don't have the boss down pat fully yet. I do think you ought to be taking Mass Dispel here, which I didn't do. So shame on me, but I'm still learning. Yeah, Mass Dispel is going to be the play here for the ice attack. But other than that, noticing in party, you can see where a throw knife is going before it hits, an opportunity for a shield. I also have red dotted lines indicating the bleed. So the indicator will go from white on the cast to red after it hit. And to me, that is a really intuitive way to see damage in a party. Let's see how this goes. Don't think it was perfect. Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. Couple Void Blasts, then a Radiance. Notice everyone is covered with a collapse. Fully topped. So looking at my available buffs. That was a really good Rapture for us. So Rift is ready, Mindbender is not quite. I think I'm trying to farm the CD for them to meet. Here we go. A couple of atonements in party. Last thing is a shield for Words of the Pious. Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. I'm trying to delay Radiance as long as I can in the rotation. That way, the atonements hold beyond the window, kind of extending your window in a sense. And on that one, the Rhyme Dagger, it's a group hit, so either Rapture or Barrier is a good idea. Yeah, so whenever Mindbender's down, the first order of business is getting him back. So if you're a viewer watching my spells, you always want to have the Mindbender. So looking at my spells, that could have been prevented. I'm going to take full credit there, just I'm not too familiar with these fights yet. But I had Shield Wall, I had 2 Pain Subs, I had Rapture. Okay, let's see. Mindbender, Death, Death. Mind Blast, Penance. Hello, Torments. Missed. Okay, so not too bad. That's honestly one that I'm gonna have to watch back a couple of times to really learn the cadence. But boss dead, we're moving on. So notice in these groups, the darkest red is what I'm looking for immediately. I want to open with dots. I want to open with some atonements. set my focus, run in for a quick Rhapsody drop, and on this pull, I penance before death, and that's because I'm really trying to get the damage grab on these lesser mobs. Worked in a Radiance. And a late Pain Sup just to help the tank out. And that was a really good example, not talked about yet in this video, but Penance has a great utility in spreading our dots. We really never want to penance a mob without a dot. So I've really minimized my nameplate area to help me catch executes and to help me make sure I'm casting penance on enemies with dots, and that's what I did back there. So the name of the game is you only really want to cast dots once, and then your penance will keep them alive. Picked up some extra deaths for extra mindbenders, and I got an extra torment there. Cast penance. Oh damn. Yeah, so I spawned 2 free mindbenders and I missed the torment off penance. Easy to do, but that is the exact reason I have my mindbender totems spawn above penance and death. There we go. 2 executes and a free round of torments with penance. And with dots, a flash heal into a single atonement. I penance first just to empower the rift. Yeah, I've really lessened that area. I've taken names off the nameplate, taken cast spell names off the nameplates. I've also taken away all the splashing combat text except for a couple of key spells. It's so important for us as Discipline to maximize with targeting. That's how we're going to get the most out of our casts. That area of the screen too easily can get cluttered. And it's not going to do anything to help you maximize. So I've turned off a lot. I'm kind of liking it. Picked out a death, picked out a mob with a dot for the penance. Getting some Holy Nova just to bank my Mindbender and Rift. Banked a Harsh Discipline. Nope, dropped it. Yeah, here's the bank. I banked one out of combat. Open with a dot. Flash heal. So I'm finding it's not super important to have full atonements in group before a rift, because the main order of business, the first order of business once a rift is out is to group atone with Radiance. So even if you aren't fully covered going into the rift, the plan is to cast a Radiance, and you can even do that early. Yeah, you can cast it immediately after rift, and it's going to hold all the way through the collapse. But I try and delay it just for extra coverage. I think that makes sense. Last thing I did was shield, Mind Bender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. Noticing on his nameplate, I'm tracking one spell as the group-wide AoE. I did not do the best job there as a healer. I needed to cast a Radiance like I had been. I missed heals in the group without that Radiance. So on this group, all I really want to do is get the Rift out early. I star, I drop Rhapsody. So Rhapsody and Star are great for AoE, but the Rift is better. So I prioritize it first, I Rift first, then do the other spells while the Rift is kind of doing its job. So let's see how this boss goes. Some things to watch out for are his energy. Big heals at 100% energy. And then really all we need to track is the Vicious Darkness. This is an AoE hit. So my Rift is out. I worked in my Radiance. And Rift brought us all back. Really our job in this moment is just to pump as much as we can. And I'm noticing with a lot of bosses so far, the cadence is we can get 2 rifts for every Mindbender, and that's what I did there. So we had plenty of time until 100% energy. I cast a second rift, and here's our Mindbender plus rift for 100 energy with barrier. Hints up myself just to make sure I live. Not the best coverage there. I was taking some ground damage, but still got the job done. So rift is out. This is a rift without the Mindbender. A delayed radiance. 2 penance into the rift. And the collapse tops everybody. So rift and Mindbender are up. The vicious darkness is 17 seconds away. Went ahead and coated us with a rapture just to use that spell, get it rolling. Looks like I go for a Mindbender and a rift. If I were to critique myself, I should have played those spells sooner, because now I think I'm going to be screwed when he gets to 100% energy. I was a little too delayed there with that rapture. Let's see how I play this next attack now. A bit early of my defensives as well. We have a darkness for the win. Two free Mindbenders. A penance for their torments and a rift collapse. So from here I think we're pretty much Gucci. So let's see. That was not the best rotation. I death, then Mindbender. The appropriate play would be Mindbender, death. But still got good value. Boss still went down. And we are cruising in this dungeon. But we do fall off in this last boss. Fair warning. So going for the healthiest mob, the big crab. Noticing his nameplate has 1 icon. That is the AoE group damage. So I opened with a rift. No Mindbender though. Looks like perhaps this pull wasn't the best play. I'd have to watch that one again, to be honest myself. Okay, but going into this room, these guys foreshadow what happens next. And this is a cadence that I'm going to have to study quite a bit to be more comfortable. We had a couple of wipes, maybe just 1 wipe, I forget, but we ended up killing it and it was pretty good. But on the nameplate, I'm tracking the attack. Rift and Mindbender out, working a Radiance, that's all you have to do. Everyone's covered. When it comes to Renew, a lot of times people ask about Renew, or like what kind of spells I should be using on a tank. I love giving Renews on tanks. So here we go, Rift is out, the Radiance in the middle. And in comms, we think a good strategy for this boss is to kind of keep stacked and move together as a group. But you'll notice the Mage does not do that, and it kind of gets us hurt. Working a Radiance, that's all we need. And Rift for the win. I'm noticing on this guy's nameplate we're tracking 2 spells. Go into a Rapture. I'm really loving the way Rapture feels now. It's a lot better than it used to be. And something else I think about, if I ever have a Pain Sup on cooldown, it is a prime time to cast Rapture, because each one of those shields without cooldown will help your Pain Sup reset. Okay, so boss. Have to dodge swirlies, and kind of the way I've approached it is Mindbender and Rift together is the best, But Rift, a lot of times on its own, is enough. So you kind of just play spells as they come and do your best to farm CDR in between. So let's see, Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. And at this point, I work in my Radiance. All covered. So my only critique there, I think in watching it back, if I could have delayed my window a little bit, the Rift would have been better placed on that group hit. This is where we all got pwned. Yeah, the Mage was right behind us and it baited an orb straight through the group. One of those things, we all definitely could have moved, but our positioning, his positioning, made it harder on us. So this is a full wipe here, so let's just see what that goes. Mindbender and Rift. Worked in my Radiance, so we should be set at this point. And that Rift did a lot of good there. So this is Rift without Mindbender. Didn't have enough help there. So I would say, looking at my available spells, I will take, some of the blame there. I was half health when that slam was going out, and I've noticed I've not really been playing my externals as much as I should. Having 2 pain sups and dying. Pain sups I oftentimes look at as an extra personal for myself. So even though Fade and Desperate Prayer were down, pain subbing yourself is a great play, and I missed. But it was a hard recovery having 2 deaths like that. It really set us off. When it comes to your mental state, it's in my opinion hard when you have deaths like that to come back and recover. Picking up the recovery is quite a hard thing to do. But I think we get it on this kill. Actually, maybe we wipe again. Let's just see what happens. Also, if anyone's wondering, the ball below my Mindbender, that is just Mind Blast, but it's a macro where I've changed the icon to look like the Rift for the mood.
Witness the glory of our ascension.
So, Mindbender. Let's see if the collapse. Here's the Mindbender. Let's see if the collapse is better placed after the group hit here. It's a little too early because I missed my extension. Still fine for the moment. It's pretty quick incoming damage. You really just have to play everything you got. We wipe again here. Otters went down. Yeah, and on tank here we have the white dotted line. That's the targeted cast weak R, showing he's getting his tank buster. Great time for a pain sup. Another thing you can consider as far as defensives is you always have a shield which you can give to yourself. Just a little extra defense on any of those type hits. Yeah, so tank went down there. I think he got hit by an orb. So yeah, we had a really clean run, and then that first wipe just kind of threw us off our mojo. But we do get it this third time, so let's see how it goes. So something to note when it comes to my bigwigs, I have as much disabled as possible when it comes to the bars. There are a lot of bars that don't pertain to timing my heals, therefore I don't think you need to see them. It's just going to add confusion, so the less bars you can have shown, honestly the better, in my opinion. So we have the group AoE from the ads. We have the group-wide AoE from Splice. This is really a fight where you kind of just have to full send. So Mindbender and Rift together is great. Rift on its own is great. If those are down, a great thing to reach for is Rapture or Barrier. So let's see how this one goes. We did time it. I don't even think we had any deaths on the final kill. So let's see how it goes. So ideally you want your Rift to collapse after the first group-wide hit, which is only about 15 seconds in. So I think a really good idea is to make sure you're delaying your Rift just slightly. Let's see how I do this time. Dot out, a couple of atonements out. Mindbender, and Blast, Death, Penance. Do my Radiance. Oh yeah, so that Rift was perfect. So the group was hit with the webs, and then the Rift collapsed. Topped us all. So that's just going to take a little bit of practice, but you do want to delay by however much time that was. So I'm getting spliced. And that was a shield wall, Desperate Prayer to live. When on Tyrannical bosses, a really good thing to watch for is use of defensives. It is a great spell, no global cooldown associated. Really important to get comfortable playing those. So with Grid 2, I notice he has Barkskin active, so I do not give him anything of my own. And it's on the right side of the bars where you can see groups defensives active. Rift is active. I Radiance the Mage, he was most central. Shield myself. Totally fine. Yeah, a personal shield. Always a great idea. Renew on the tank. Looks like I have Rift, but no Mindbender, so I reach for Rapture. Rapture really helped us through that hit. Some health to recover though. Mindbender and Rift. Worked in my Radiance. And right there he had Frenzied Regen active and a sack. So I did not give him a pain sup, just a nice procced single shield for the win. So just Rift is active, no Mindbender. Collapse really helped us there, plus a personal defensive. And now that we are sub 20, we should have hella heals. Let's see how I play this. Mindbender, Death, Death, Rift, Penance. Quick, paints up on myself for the win there. And rip. We were over by, what was that? 30 seconds, 35 seconds. Really good run. Sucks that we didn't time it, but I think it is a really good video to mark the start of the season. I know I didn't talk about everything in here, and that's honestly because I'm still learning it too, but I have had a lot of changes to my UI and my approach since my last handful of videos. So if there's anything you were wondering that I did not cover, please ask in the comments. This is a small enough channel where I'm pretty good at responding to everyone's questions. So if anything stands out to you, you're wondering why I did it or what type of UI element this is, please ask. I'm more than happy to talk about it. Also, please remember to check out my Medify if you're interested in a private lesson. If you're interested in some of my UI elements, please consider joining the channel as a member. And if you're new to my channel, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to try and make videos at least once a week covering Mythic Plus and all that. But until next time, Disc.